Solar installations posted another record year in 2023. Changes in the net metering laws in California led to a 22% decline in the number of solar jobs in that state. And permitting delays remain the greatest obstacle to the transition to a clean economy, with wait times for interconnections taking up to 3.5 years. I'm Jay Warmke with Blue Rock Station, and this is the news from the solar industry for the week of January 1st. So it's been another record year for solar installations. 2023 was in the US. Installations for solar photovoltaics grew about 55%, and this was led by utility scale solar. It was up by about 86% over the previous year, but that's a little bit distorted because 2023 was making up for some supply chain issues that happened in 2022. The US now has 161 gigawatts of solar installed on the national grid. That's enough to generate about 5% of all of the country's electricity. But it's striking to note that more than half of all of the solar that is in existence today has been installed since 2020. Now, of all of the new generating sources installed on the grid in 2023, solar accounted for about 54%. Battery storage capacity, and this is something that wasn't even measured up to a couple of years ago, is now 17% of all of the energy on the grid that was installed in 2023. Natural gas down to about 14%, wind 11%, and nuclear actually had its first growth, 4%, and that was because one reactor in Georgia came online that was built with the help of a $12 billion loan guarantee from the federal government. Now, despite a lot of attention and talk by lawmakers about how to try and clear up the interconnection backlog that's plaguing the US, there still remain about 2,000 gigawatts of wind, solar, and battery capacity that's waiting to get put onto the grid but waiting for permitting. Now, this is larger than the existing 1,250 gigawatts of generating capacity on the grid. So more is in the queue than currently exists. Now, experts feel like only about a fourth of these are going to actually be built, but it currently takes about 3.5 years to get approval for connecting. And even once approval is granted, the costs that the utility companies are charging for connection has skyrocketed. In fact, in the last 5 years, the cost for upgrading the grid to allow for this new energy to be put on that they charge the developers has gone up from about 10% of the cost of their development to as much as 100% of the cost of their development, basically doubling the cost of a solar farm in order to pay the grid so that they'll accept the energy. Now, currently, a lot of the residential installs that are going in are incorporating batteries. Currently, that's about 11%. And the companies that are dominating, well, in 2018, Tesla and LG Chem pretty much had the market sewn up. They represented about 96% of all of the batteries that were put in with solar in the residential marketplace. A lot of new entrants have come into the marketplace now. Tesla is still number one with their Powerwall. They have about a 50% market share. And then Enphase, the microinverter company, has about 15% now. LG Chem, still around 15%. SunPower is a new entrant there. They have, 6, 7, 8%. And Solar Edge, which I believe is just an LG Chem under another name, is about 6 or 7%. When California's Utility Commission decided that they were going to be changing the net metering rules, this was referred to as NEM or NEM 3.0, there were a lot of warnings that this was going to devastate the California solar market. Now, what has resulted is that about an 80% decline in solar installations in the state of California since these new rules went into effect. Essentially, the new rules cut compensation for power that was put back onto the grid by about 70%. As a result, the California Solar and Storage Association has announced that about 17,000 solar jobs have been lost within that state. That represents about 22% of the solar workforce in California. Now, California has traditionally dominated when it came to solar installations. Texas, as a result of this, has moved up into number one position, installing more than 10 gigawatts in 2023. California is still strong, still in second place. Rounding out that top 10, it's Nevada, Ohio, Colorado, New York, Wisconsin, Florida, Kansas, and Illinois. Now that's the number that were installed in 2023. If you're looking at what is the installed base, California still remains number one, followed by Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona. So California marketplace has shifted. We've seen a tremendous growth in solar nationwide, but a lot of the activity is moving away from California into some of the other states. Now, China on the world stage has long dominated the world of solar, but I suspect they need to be looking in the rearview mirror at India, which is coming up behind them fairly quickly. Now, 5 of the top 15 largest solar installations in the world are in the country of India. India, of course, this past year surpassed China as the most populous nation in the world. And as an example of the growing, them being a growing player in solar, the company, the largest Indian manufacturer of solar panels, that's Waaree Energies, has just announced that they're entering into the U.S. marketplace by opening up a 5 gigawatt solar plant in near Houston, Texas. Now they anticipate that this plant will be operational by the end of 2024, and that it will employ about 1,500 people, and they're going to be investing about $1 billion in this. And that is the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.